Whatever happened to Freya? In the next patch, we'll actually see a change to Freya, and most people assume it's gonna be a nerf. A lot of people are surprised by this, given that they didn't realize how her performance over the past few months has changed. And it's not surprising because the changes to Freya and what impacted her in the meta were a lot more subtle than what they usually are with other gods. In this video, we'll look at what changes caused this potential nerf that's coming up and how Freya has managed to sneakily climb up the ladder of tier lists all the way to the top performing gods in Smite. Now, in Freya's case, we don't need to go back multiple seasons, because as a matter of fact, we've mostly not seen too much of her early this season. There were just other characters, mostly hunters, that were not more dominant in the meta, and Freya just started showing up later, so we begin with Season 3 here. The first patch that really impacted Freya this season was patch 3.8. Here, pulls saw a duration increase from 5 seconds to 6 seconds. This was a small but still a bit significant buff, but it was not nearly enough to bring her anywhere close to the top tiers. Then the gradual changes happened that kinda helped Freya climb up more and more. In patch 3.10, Fafnir was introduced, so this was on June 7th. That was very beneficial for Freya because Fafnir's steroid works so well on her. Mages generally have more power than physical characters have power in their kits, so with the steroid that gives her attack speed and power, she could benefit slightly more than ADCs from getting the full roid effect. Which is nice. It's not crazy, but it's a nice side effect, so Fafnir helped a little bit. Then, on June 21st, we saw a buff to Demonic Grip in patch 3.11. Stacks now provided 12% reduction and capping at 3 stacks instead of 8% per stack and capping at 4 stacks. So with Demonic Grip basically being a core item on Freya at all points, this was very helpful for her, making her basic attacks stronger. But still, even then she wasn't really played, it was simply unnoticed because of the power of hunters. Then in patch 3.12 on July the 6th, Phantom was introduced. A very good relic, which in theory would help Freya a lot because she had only one escape, which was her ultimate, and with a lot of walls in the game, that often was an easy way to force her ultimate, just cage her off as Odin and she will have to ult to get out. Now there was another option for her to get out in case she didn't want to use her ultimate. Also, Bancroft's Talon saw a buff, which did benefit her as well, as it's an item that she can definitely make use of. The most important thing that happened that patch was the removal of Golden Bow. Golden Bow was extremely potent on many hunters and was basically what didn't even allow Freya to come into the meta at all. Golden Bow had such strong clear on basic attacks that the steroid that Freya got from using her abilities was basically built in for other hunters, and Freya was just lackluster compared to that. With Golden Bow removed, Freya all of a sudden got a lot more potential, as she was the only character that could clear in that way that efficiently. Now we have Izanami who does the same, but other than that, she's still one of the few gods that can rely on a single ability to clear with basics and poke at the same time in a very efficient manner. Then in patch 3.13 on July 19th, Freya also got a remodel and new skins. This is more of a cosmetic thing, but obviously when a god gets a remodel, the character usually gets played more as well. A lot more people will have interest in the character, and with Freya looking a lot better, a lot of people just tried her out again and saw that now she wasn't actually as bad anymore. In the same patch, Soul Eater was also nerfed. Soul Eater was always a bit problematic for Freya, as it countered burst so well with the immense healing that it did and all that stuff, and as Freya really much relied on using her burst to kill someone before her steroids went out, this could kinda counter her a little bit. Soul Eater now out of the meta, so Freya's lifesteal is a lot more efficient, and her burst works to kill a hunter before her steroid runs out. So once again, a really nice benefit for her that just works in her favor and against the favor of other hunters. Then in patch 3.14 on August the 2nd, power potions were level locked. Freya is a late game god, so anything that benefits early game gods is obviously problematic for her. She would never use power potions because she was way too reliant on getting to later stages of the game, or at least wouldn't use them efficiently most of the time. with them being locked till a certain level, most other characters couldn't as easily gank Freya early game anymore. They obviously still could, just not quite as easy. And that obviously helped her once again. So once again, another kind of small benefit that did her a favor. Then in patch 3.15, on August 16th, Freya got yet another skin, once again a little bit of a rise in popularity, and Spear of the Magus got buffed. Now Spear of the Magus is an item that is pretty much only picked up by Freya and Anubis at this point, because for most others it's just not cost efficient. For Freya on the other hand, it's great, especially in combination with Demonic Grip. And as such, the power buff from 40 power to 50 power is just a nice extra benefit that helped her compared to pretty much any other character. In patch 3.16, on the 30th of August, Pythagorean's Peace saw a buff. Across the range really, it got a cost decrease, it got some other stats buffed, so all in all it would help Freya a lot more. Now she's not always the kind of mage that will build that, but it will benefit her in many situations, so it's definitely picked up on her, and as such is obviously a helpful item. Even if another mage in the team builds it for her, she still benefits more from the stats than before. In the same patch, Phantom was made available team-wide, so if one of your teammates used it, you would be able to escape as well, making walls even weaker, and with walls being one of Freya's major weaknesses, this was obviously helpful as well, as now she wouldn't even have to pick up the relic herself. Then there was also a buff to Witchblade, which was later partially reverted, but it didn't matter because Witchblade had gotten some other buffs over the course of the season, and as such was a more viable pickup, and now it was so strong and so potent that it could actually be picked up on Freya as well, helping her even more when it comes to boxing other hunters. That were all the changes that affected Freya in one way or another, all of them mostly in her benefit really. And on top of all that, one of the strongest counters to Freya, being Bellona, is also fallen out of favor a little bit, is not quite in the meta anymore as she used to when she was at her strongest. So you will see a lot less of the disarm that affected Freya so much, as she does not really have anything outside of her basic attacks and her ultimate to damage the enemy. That all in combination led to Freya being a lot more potent than she used to and performing better than most other hunters, specifically those who were reliant on Golden Bow or Soul Eater, stuff like that, and only a few hunters can actually compete with her at the moment. As such, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bigger nerf to her, just to bring her a little more in line with others. This obviously depends on her win rate as well. With that, I will come to the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was interesting, I hope this was insightful. I will see you all tomorrow, hopefully. Until then, Duke Sloth, out.